Namaskar, Jai Jagannath, dear students, good morning. I myself, Dr. Ganesh Prasad Behera, Founder Chairman, UTKAL International School, Chaudhar. Dear students, today we will discuss another chapter of economics from class 10, the second chapter, that is sector of the Indian economy. Dear students, before this chapter, we have discussed on the first chapter, that is development. And the development of a country or a nation is depend upon the economy of the country. Nowadays, our India is the fifth leading economy of the world, and now we are trying our best to become the third economy of the world. So the economy is not come from a single part. Economy joins and economy together to develop a country from different sectors. So the main chapter, the economy activities are performed by three different sectors. There are, the first one is primary sector, second one is secondary sector, and the third one is tertiary sector. The important sector is the tertiary sector. So the first one is primary sector, second one is secondary sector, and the third one is tertiary sector. The first thing comes on our mind, what is the primary sector? The primary sector is the ancient sector, is involved in natural products which we get from agriculture, fishing, dairy and forestry, which are related to natural products. When these natural products are converted other forms of the production, mind it, listen it carefully. When these natural products are converted to other forms of production through an industrial activity, it is known as the secondary sector. Means the primary sector is basically the natural sector, and when the industrial activity is involved in the primary sector, then this sector is known as the secondary sector. So the tertiary sector provides services for the production of goods in the primary and the secondary sector. So students, the third sector, which is the tertiary sector, it is only provides the services to production of goods in the primary and the secondary sectors. So there are also certain important services such as teaching, medicine, law and information technology, which may not directly help the production of goods. So the tertiary sector is not directly involved in the help of production of goods. It is only considered as a service or support sector. Understand students? The three sectors, one is primary sector, second one is secondary sector, and third one is tertiary sector. So now we will go to the definition of the sectors. So first note down, dear students, that is primary sector. I have shown you the notes, you can write down and also read it well. So first we discuss about the primary sector, the important, the ancient sector, the base of the Indian economy, which is the economy has started. When we produce goods by exploiting natural resources, it is an activity of the primary sector. Mind it. Listen once again. When we produce goods by exploiting natural resources, it is an activity of the primary sector. For example, that is farming, forestry, hunting, fishing and mining, which is directly involved. When we produce goods by exploiting natural resources, it is an activity of the primary sector. For example, farming, forestry, hunting and mining. Then students, we go to our second sector, that is secondary sector, that is covers activities. Before I told you there is involvement of the machinery, so covers activity in which natural products are changed into other forms. Okay, there is no natural products are changed into other forms through way of manufacturing, means that is the involvement of the machineries. Okay, it is also called an industrial sector. Dear students, the secondary sector is known as the industrial sector. Okay, for example, if you go for an example of secondary sector, that is using cotton fibers from the plant. When we use cotton, then we got the fiber, use of machineries. We spin yarn and wear cloth by use of machineries. And using sugar cane as raw material, we make sugar or wood. That is the use of machineries, where cotton fiber from the plant. Then spin yarn, we wear clothes, and using sugar cane as a raw material, what we got? We make the sugar or wood. Now we go to the important or third sector, which is an important sector, dear students. Last 20 or 30 years, it is became the huge sector of economy of world, and this sector is known as tertiary sector. So what is the tertiary sector? Dear students, these are the activities that help in the development of the primary and the secondary sector. It is the involvement. This sector is involved to development for the primary and the secondary sector. These activities by themselves do not produce good. The tertiary sector is not directly produce the good, but they are an aid and support to the production process. It is a help to what? To production process. Example, if you go for example, dear students, transportation goods that are produced in the primary sectors need to be transported by the trucks or trains and then sold in the wholesale or retail shops. Dear students, you know the goods are produced in primary sector, and for sale the transportation needs by truck or trains to the mandis and to the other places for sale. In this condition, the transportation is the part of tertiary sector. So what happened? Now storage in times is necessary to store these products in godowns, which is also service made available. Godowns is also the example of the tertiary sector. And the main sector is communication, which is the main vital part of the tertiary sector. What happened? Communication, talking to others on telephone. Another main part is tertiary sector is banking, borrowing money from the bank. Since these activities are generate services rather than goods, the tertiary sector is the main sector. I have told you students that it is the activity generate services rather than goods. It is also called service sector. So the tertiary sector is also called service sector. Understand, dear students? I have explained about the three sectors. One is primary sector, second one is secondary sector, and third one is the tertiary sector. So Now dear students, a comparison will comes on your mind about the three sectors. In an economy, there could be one or more sector which are dominated in terms of total production of employment. Dear students, if there is three sectors, every three sectors cannot dominate the employment. There is only a one sector which will be dominant the others, while other sectors are relatively small in size. Therefore, if we go for a comparison can do done among these three sectors on the basis of value of final goods and services produced. So if we go for comparison, so first we have considered the value of final goods and service produced. The value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year. So dear students, if you go for a comparison, so we have to first consider the final goods and services, the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year, and the sum of production in these sectors gives us gross domestic product of a country. Gross domestic product, which is known as GDP. You know, the value of final goods and services produced in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year, and the sum of production in these sectors gives us gross domestic product of a country, GDP of a country. So you can easily write down the definition of GDP. So historical change in sectors. Dear students, you know, before ancient India, before 100 years back and before 200 years back, there is only a one sector, that is primary sector, and day by day the primary sector is replaced or developed by the secondary sector. But the historical change, the importance of sectors has changed. At the initial stages of development, primary sector, I have told you, the initial stage of development, the primary sector was the most important sector of economic activities. I have told you, primary sector is the most important sector of economic activities. But over a period of time, after some time period of time, secondary sectors, machineries, gradually becomes the most important of total production and employment. First is the primary sector, and after some time what happened? Now the secondary sector or use of machineries, what happened? Now gradually become the most important of the total production and employment. But last some years, 20 to 30 years, there is a further shift. What shift? Now shift from secondary sector to tertiary sector. In developed countries, the service sector, that means tertiary sector, I have told you that the service sector is the tertiary sector. Tertiary sector is known as the service sector. So it is take a big space in developed countries. The service sector has become the most important in terms of total production. So if we got or calculate the production, so nowadays the service sector is got a vital role or important role in terms of total production. Okay, it becomes the most important in terms of total production. Okay, if you go for a graph, GDP by primary, secondary and tertiary sectors, so we found 55 lakhs crore is covered by only tertiary sector now in economy as compared to primary and secondary sector, which is secondary sector and primary sector in 1900s. If you go a comparison by year wise in 1973 and 1974, so the GDP is near about 4 lakh crore from primary sector and near about 4 lakh 50,000 crore by secondary sector and 7 lakh 50,000 crore by the tertiary sector in the year 1973 and 74. But if we compare to 1973, 74 to 2013 and 2014, so we found the primary sector is near about 8 lakh crore, okay, near about double, and the secondary sector is near about 2 lakh 25 lakhs crore. But if you go to the tertiary sector, it is near about 55 lakhs crore, which is a very big sector which helps our economy. Okay, our economy will be how big and our GDP how grows from the tertiary sector on 2013 and 2014. So now we will a comparison in the year 2013 and 2014. The tertiary sector emerged as the largest producing sector in India. I show you that is 55 lakhs crore, replacing the primary sector. The tertiary sector has become important in India because of the following reasons. Dear students, a questions arise on your mind that why the tertiary sector replaced the primary sector and the secondary sector as the last years or last sum of years. The reason is the main point, the number one point, that is services such as hospitals, educational institutions, post and telegraph services, police station, courts, village administrative offices, municipal corporations, defense, transport, banks, insurance companies, etc. are considered the basic service and are necessary for all peoples. The sectors such as hospitals, educational institutions, post and telegraph services, police stations, courts, villages, administrative officers, municipal corporations, defense, transport, banks, insurance companies, etc. are the basic need, day-to-day need of the people, of the society, of the country, which is coming from the tertiary sector and covers a big sector of the economy of the country. And the second point, the development of agriculture and industry leads to the development of services such as transport, trade, storage, etc. Dear students, now day by day government has put focus for development of agriculture and the development of industry. So for to help the agriculture and the industry, the services, what services required? The services such as transportation, trade and storage, etc., which is coming from the tertiary sector, but the covers the main part. Then if it goes for the third point, which rise in the income of people, they start demanding more services. Okay, now day by day the earn of people, see Rajesh, day by day they are incoming well, they are getting good jobs. After that they need the services. What are the services? Eating out, tourism, shopping, private hospitals, private schools, and professional training, etc., which are the skill development. Pupils needing more facilities because their income, they rise in the income of the people, so they demanding. So the sectors from the tertiary, what are the sectors? That is restaurants, tourism, shoppings, private hospitals, and private schools and professional trainings are covered the sector of the Indian economy, which is from tertiary sector. Then another important thing is, over the past decade, certain new services based, what are the past some years, what are the things such as information and communication technology has become important and essential, which is the vital part of the tertiary sector. So the above 4 points are the important points for which the tertiary sector is covered the most of the Indian economy. Then value of goods and services. Dear students, it is a very important thing. The everything has a certain value. So what is the value? The value of goods and services. Only the final value of goods and services are counted, because there is no count on importance of raw materials. Only the importance of the final goods and services. So the value of final goods includes the value of all the intermediate goods which are used the producing the final goods. So there is value of final goods only counted when the value of the intermediate goods which are used producing the final goods. So now we come to the main point, that is gross domestic product, GDP. It is the vital point for every country's development, and it is also very important for nation's development. So the gross domestic product is the value of final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year. So the definition of GDP is the value of the all final goods and services produced within the country during a particular year. So I have told you now again and again the same point. Now historical change in sectors. So agriculture production was the predominant activity in the initial stages of development. You know it well. Agricultural production was the predominant activity in the initial stage of development. Most of the people were employed in the primary sector. It is the first sector. In the initial stage of development, most of the people were involved in the primary sector. With the advancement in manufacturing, the secondary sector began to increase the total production and employment level. So day by day, people feel the need or requirement of machineries. So day by day, machineries involvement advanced. The secondary sector began in increase for total production and also employment level. But gradually, the concentration of technological changes improved the efficiency of production in the tertiary sector. You know, the gradually the tertiary sector covered the total economy. Primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sectors in India. If we count, if we research, if we focus among the three sectors, over the years there has been massive growth in the turnover of all the sectors. Day by day, our Indian economy covers every sector, primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sectors of the economy. But tertiary sector has been considered one of the largest producing sectors in India. I have told you back that day by day the tertiary sectors covers the Indian economy day by day. So the important, before that we have discussed the need of tertiary sectors, but if we consider the importance of the tertiary sectors, if we go for an importance, so what are the importance? Now basic services, the importance because due to the basic services of education, health, postal communication, transport and banks are essential in daily life, which are coming from tertiary sectors. That is the importance. Second thing, the development of the primary and secondary sectors has improved the growth of the service sector. The development of primary and secondary sector. If they, in meanwhile, primary sector is developed and secondary sector is also developed. When both sectors are developed, they improve the growth of the service sector. And another main point, the increase in the income level. Now India is a growing growth economy. So the income level of people demands such as tourism, shopping and dining. And the main thing, importance of the tertiary sector. Now recently the services of advanced information and communication has gained more importance. You know, day by day telecommunication, internet, mass media, which are required a day-to-day life and which is from the tertiary sectors. So these 4 points are the importance of the growth of the tertiary sectors. Now we go for employment. You know, every sector needs employment. So the share of agriculture sector has substantially decreased. You know, before 100 years back, many of peoples or many of families, many of groups are focused on employment as the agriculture sector. But dear students, day by day, due to development of secondary sector and tertiary sector, the employment in the agriculture sector is decreased and the share of the tertiary sector has grown tremendously. However, the share of employment in these sectors was not in tune with the GDP, but there is a gap. So until the agriculture sector is the largest employer, dear students, it shows that tertiary sector is a growing sector, but till now it is a gap. What is the gap? Now till now the agriculture sector is the largest employment sector. It means that there are more people employed in the agricultural sector than actually required. Okay, there is a gap. There is a tensionable thing for everyone that till now the agriculture sector is engaged more laborers by more employment than actually required. Even if a few agriculture works stop working, it does not affect the production level. Okay, there is much employment which is required in agriculture sector. So if we stop to withdraw some workers from agriculture, it does not affect the production level. This is known as distinguished employment, where the more employees are doing their jobs as their actual requirement. Then if we go for a comparison of sectors of in GDP, you know we have 3 sectors. One is primary sector, then is secondary sector and the tertiary sectors. So in 2008 in our GDP, there is 53.70% is coming from service sector or tertiary sector. And same time, what happened? Now, yeah, from agriculture, that is 17.20%, and from industry, yeah, secondary sector, 29.10% is coming from industry sector. It is compare data of GDP from year 2008. Then creation, okay, every nation, every government, every sector needs to create of employment. If there is no employment, there is no development. So what are the fundamentals? What are the steps by the government for creation of employment? So the main thing created by the Indian government, it is a tremendous change on the employment sector, that is National Rural Employment Guarantee Act by NREGA, नरेगा जिसको शॉर्ट फॉर्म में लोग बोलते हैं, नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी एक्ट 2005 is implemented by the central government for guaranteeing 100 days of employment in a year. It is a government scheme. And second, it is the main point for the creation of the employment. And the second, the government provides money or banks provide loans to farmers to construct wells for irrigation of land, to develop their irrigation. Government or banks provide loans. And another main important thing, now underemployment in rural areas. You know, our India is covered most of rural areas. So underemployment in rural areas can be tackled by creating job opportunities where youth are employed in the construction of dams or in the digging of the canals. It is a direct employment. But now unemployment in rural areas tackled by creating job opportunities where youth are employed for construction of dams and or in the digging of the canals. Then another important thing for creation of employment, now farming cooperatives need to provide cheap credit to farmers for improving farming, for improvement of farming. Cooperative banks and farming cooperatives are working, which are provide them cheap credits to the farmers, loans, cheap loans. Then another important part is the identify and locate job opportunities in the industries and services in semi-rural areas, that is industrial areas created by the government, where locate the job opportunity in industries or services. Then another important where the creates the employment, that is strengthen the function of education and health industries. Now you know the health sector and the education sectors creates most job opportunities. And another important thing, that proper planning and support from the government to create services such as IT and tourism. Nowadays government has focused the IT sector and tourism sector to create big service opportunities for unemployment. Now the employment sectors, division of sectors. So before that we discussed about the sectors to create the job opportunities. Now the sectors is divided by two parts. One part is organized sector and another part is unorganized sectors. Dear students, it's a very important sector. You know about the sectors. A point raises on your mind. What do you mean by organized sector and unorganized sectors? The organized sector includes enterprises or places of work where the term of employment is regular. In organized sectors, the term of employment is regular, and work is assured. Okay, there is assurance of a work, and the term of employment are regular, and companies are compelled to follow the rules and regulations passed under registered act such as Factories Act, Minimum Wages Act, and Payment Gratuity Act. The acts which is passed by the government, and the sector or the company is bonded by the acts, and the Subs and Established Act also. And the employees of the organization sector enjoy the security of the employment and are expected to work only for a fixed number of hours. There is a certain regulations, rules, and overtime hours are paid by the employer, and if they work hard beyond the time, so they have get the extra payment, and the employees receive several other benefits just like PFs, gratuities, medical benefits. That is the sector, organized sector. Okay, but as compared to organized sector, unorganized sector is a very low type of sector. The organized sector is small and scattered units. There is a small and scattered, small, and which are mostly out of government control. There is no control of government, and there is no control of anybody. There is fully privatization, and jobs are usually with low wages. They are taking no minimum wages. Jobs are only low wages, and are often not regular, and their service is not regular in our unorganized sector. And an employee's job is not secured. The main important point is the job of an employee is not secured, and there are no provisions for perks and benefits, and there is no provisions for benefits, only daily wages. They are doing their jobs and take their wages. There is no security of jobs, there is no minimum wages act. So there is the sectors. A farmer needs support through adequate facilities for timely delivery of seeds, agriculture inputs, credit storage facilities, and marketing outlets. It is the requirement of the farmer. So small scale industry, as compared to small scale industry, government support for producing raw material and marketing output. This is the requirement. A farmer knows what needs for a economic development. For a development, a farmer needs timely delivery of seeds, agriculture inputs, credits, and storage facilities. And so meanwhile, a small scale industry requires what? Now, government support for procuring raw material and marketing output. And as a compare, at that time a casual worker, protection in rural areas and urban areas, there needs a protection. Now dear students, there is a question on the mind, what is difference between organized sector and unorganized sector? So I will explain you by point. The number one point of organized sector, it is a sector where employment terms are fixed and regular, and the employees get assured work. I am revising once again. In organized sector, where the employment terms are fixed and regular, and the employees get assured work. In this point, if we compare to unorganized sector, on unorganized sector, the characterized by small and scattered units which are largely outside the control of the government. Then the second point of organized sector, the job is regular and has fixed working hours. If people work more, they get paid for the overtime by the employer. Okay, in organized sector, the jobs are regular and has fixed working hours. If people work more, they get paid for the overtime by the employer. as compared to unorganized sector, jobs are low paid and often not regular. Okay, in unorganized sector, jobs are low paid and often not regular. Then if you go to the third point of organized sector, workers enjoy the security of employment. In organized sector, workers enjoy the security of the employment. But as compared to unorganized sector, employment is not secure. Their employment is not secure. People can ask to leave without reason. In unorganized sector, people can be asked to leave without any reason. In fourth point of organized sector, employees will get medical and several other benefits because the organized sector is under the laws of the government. So employee will get medical and several other benefits. No benefits are available for the workers where in unorganized sectors. So, and if it goes for the fifth point of the organized sector, government employees, registered industrial workers, etc. are the example of the organized sector. You may add railways and government services, and if we compare to unorganized sector, shopkeeping, farming, domestic laborers, etc. are the covered under the unorganized sector. Dear students, you will better understand about the organized and the unorganized sector. But it is the sector wise. But you know, it is also divided. Sectors also divided in the terms of ownership. The terms of ownership. So, which the terms of ownership? Now it is two types. One is public sector and another one is private sectors. So on the basis of who owns the assets and it accountable for the delivery of the services, economic activities can be classified into public and private sectors. So dear students, a question arises on your mind. So what is public sector and what is private sector? So dear students, I have give you the definition and also note you write down. In public sector, the government owns most assets and provides services to the public. Earning profit is not the motive. Here, earning profit is the not motive in public sector, and the government owns the most assets. Some activities which involves large investment can be undertaken only by the government, such as constructing roads, bridges, railways, generating electricity, building ration shops, and providing facilities for health and education. In these activities, the government has to support and ensure for everyone. That is the scope and description of the public sector. In the public sector, the government owns most assets and provides services to the public. Earning profit is not motive. Some activities which involves, examples are large investments can be undertaken only by the government, such as constructing roads, bridges, railways, generating electricity, building ration shops, and providing facilities for health and education. In these activities, government has to support and ensure for everyone. This is the definition of the public sector. And if we go for a private sector, in the private sector, the ownership of asset and delivery of services are with individuals. In private sector, that is individuals. The private sector, the ownership of assets and delivery of services are with individuals or private companies. Earning profit is the main motive. In private sector, earning profit is the main motive. All services provided are to earn revenue. They invest to earn revenue. So if we go for a difference between public sector and private sector, so we found the public sector, the first point, this sector is controlled and managed by the government. In public sector, the first point, the sector is controlled and managed by the government. Such as in private sector, this sector is owned by private or individual. Then if you go for second point of the public sector, the purpose of the public sector is not just to earn profit. The purpose of the public sector is not just to earn profit, but in private sector, activities in the private sector are guided by the motive to earn profit. Okay, then in private sector, the motive is earn to profit. Then if you go the third point, in public sector, this sector focuses on serving the in public sector focus on the serving of general people of the country, mostly public welfare. But as compared to private sector, the sector focus the constructing a brand or image. In public sector, there is a focus for serving the general people or country or public welfare. But in private sector, focus for constructing brand or image. Then in public sector, capital is obtained by public revenue such as taxes, bonds and other duties and many more. In public sector, there is a certain rule and regulation to generate the revenue where from taxes, bonds and duties of many more. But in private sector, capital can be obtained by issuing shares or loans in this sector. In private sector, they are only to issuing, they got or generate money by issuing shares or loans or other sectors. Then if you go to the public sector, what extremely secured employment, the employment of the public sector are secured by parameters of merit, progress or terms of working. There is a parameter. But in private sector, this does not ensure security of the employment. In private sector, there is no security of the employment. Employment is the total based on merit and production output. It is only focused on the merit and production output in the private sector. And if you go to the public sector, highly secured job and multiple retirement facilities are there. In public sector, job is secured and multiple retirement facilities. But if you compare to the private sector, there it does not give in any retirement benefit or allowances. Your job is over, your everything is over. After that, you can get any benefit or any service. And if you go to the public sector, jobs under this sector are example railway, post office, armed force and education, etc. as the under public sector. If you compare to private sector, what Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, Reliance, IT sectors, these are the examples of the big private sectors. Now dear students, economy is the under part of the government. So government will play a vital role, vital responsibility to control and guide the economy. So here we discuss the responsibility of the government. What are the responsibility of the government? So dear students, there are a large number of activities which are the primary responsibility of the government, where we have listed a few of them. Here we discuss. There is a vital part under the government to control the economy. But here we discuss the some points that government raises money through taxes and other ways to meet expense on the service rendered by it. So government is a cell body So what happened? The government raises money through taxes and other ways to meet expenses on the services rendered by it. Then government have to undertake heavy spending such as construction of roads, bridges, railways, harbors, generating electricity, providing irrigation through dams, etc. Also, it has to ensure that these facilities are available for everyone. So government needs, surveys the requirements of what? The construction of roads, bridges, railways, harbors, generating electricity, providing irrigation through dams. Also has to ensure these facilities are available for everyone. And another responsibility of government is there are some activities which the government has to support and to encourage the private sector to continue their production or business. Only government cannot take or develop the economy. Same time, the private sector should be encouraged by the government to continue their production and business. And the main point is the government of India buys wheat and rice from farmers as a fair price, MSP, and sells at a lower price to consumers, to ration shops, to needy people, to develop, to provide them services. In this way, it supports both farmers and consumers. This idea and this step of the government help both farmers and consumers. And another thing is running proper schools. Government running proper schools, providing quality education, health and education facilities for all are some of the duty of the government to develop the sector of the economy. And the main and last point, government also needs to pay attention to assert the human development such as availability of the safe drinking water, housing facilities, and the poor and the food nutrition, taking care of the poorest and most ignored regions of the country. Development is the main part and the main point of the country. Now dear students, this is all about your second chapter, that is sector of the economy. If we go for a short revision, I have discussed that sector of the Indian economy. Basically there is three parts: primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. So primary sector is the natural sector, secondary sector is the industrial sector, and tertiary sector is the service sector. And if we go for comparison of the three sectors, now last some days the tertiary sectors overcomes and ruling all the two sectors of the economy. Then we have discussed the GDP. The gross domestic product is the value of all final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year. Then we have discussed importance of the tertiary sector because due to education, health, postal communication, transportation, banks, and the growth of primary and secondary sectors, and also increase the income level of the peoples, and also growth of information and communication technology sector has support to importance of the tertiary sectors. Now if we go for employment status, you know now tertiary sector is the most vital area to create job employment, but now the more people are employed in agricultural sector than actually required and even a few agriculture workers step down, so the work will not stop, and this type of employment is known distinguished employment. Then the creation of employment, the government, it is depend upon the government. Government has focused in several sectors, that like national rural employment guarantee, government provides money or banks farmers to construct well for irrigation land. Underemployment rural areas can be tackled by creating by job opportunity. Farming cooperative needs to provide cheap credits to farmers, identify and locate job opportunities, and strengthen the function of educational and health industries. Then the division of sectors by service, that is organized sector and unorganized sector, and I have discussed about difference about organized and unorganized sectors. Then we go for ownership, that is public and private sectors, and we got a discussion about difference of public sector and private sector, and then we have discussed the responsibility of the government to develop the economy sector. Dear students, this is all about your second chapter, that is sectors of Indian economy. I think I have discussed and covered all the parts, and it will be better for you for understanding and also on your future exam. Once again, thank you. I myself, Dr. Ganesh Prasad Behera, founder chairman, UTKAL International School, Chaudhar, Cuttack. Jai Jagannath.